Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys what my favorite palettes are for fall. And I know we're not quite in fall yet, but I thought I would go ahead and share what my favorite palettes are for this time of the year. So maybe if you don't have these palettes and you would like to go pick them up, you can go get them before fall starts, or maybe if you have these in your collection, you can bust them back out. It's just that time of the year, like fall and winter is the time when I wear more makeup. Spring and summer, I don't really wear a lot of makeup, so I just get re-inspired again this time of the year. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this because I don't think I'm going to do this in order as like my very favorite palette to like least favorite, because honestly these are all my favorite palettes. Last year I discovered Profusion and I just really like this palette. I mean, this is one of those palettes that could be a year-round palette because it is fairly neutral. Let me turn my phone on silent. I mean, because it is more of like a neutral palette, but I feel like it has some good kind of warmer like golden shades. It's a good transition palette from summer to fall, and I love the formula of Profusion eyeshadows. This is the Chocolates palette. I totally forgot to say the name. And I know that there's a few different versions of the Chocolates palette, but I just love these tones, these bronzy shades, the greens even. So yeah, this is one of my favorite palettes to use in the fall. It's kind of a year-round palette, like I said, but I tend to use it more in the fall time. I know that maybe some people might not be into this palette or think it's like the best quality palette ever, but I think it's a pretty good quality palette. This is the Maybelline Soda Pop, and I don't really use this in the summer or spring months, but I like to bust this out in the fall. I got this in the fall of last year and I loved it so much last fall, so I know I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it. I love how it has this orange and this burgundy color, and I like how it also has like neutral shades, so you can do more everyday looks with this or do like, you know, more colorful looks. The quality of the eyeshadows, I feel like the mattes are really awesome quality, like really pigmented, really easy to blend out. I would recommend using an eyeshadow primer with this palette just to ensure that your eyeshadows are gonna stay in place all day long and like last all day. Because when you don't use a primer, these don't necessarily last all day long, so you definitely need to use a primer. And like with the shimmery shades, they apply best with your finger, or if you use a makeup brush, use like a makeup setting spray with them, so they'll be their most intense. But I just absolutely love this palette. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it does have a slight like sweet scent to it, like a soda scent, but it's not strong at all. So I just think this is a really fun and affordable palette for fall, so I highly recommend this. And I'll link tutorials that I have done on these palettes down below, because I know I have a few tutorials with this palette from last year, so I'll link those tutorials down in the description box for you guys. I might have like my trusty makeup remover wipe out if I do like any swatching with these palettes. Okay, this next palette that I want to talk about is new, and I've only used it like 2 times. It's what I used to do my makeup today, my eyeshadow. But I'm already so in love with this palette, and I feel like this is the perfect like pumpkin spice type of eyeshadow palette. This is the new Wet n Wild eyeshadow palette in Coffin Break. And I'm sorry if I say eyeshadow palette a lot in this video, but we're talking about eyeshadow palettes today. So this is from their limited edition Halloween collection, their Fantasy Makers. I picked this up at Rite, but I'm sure that they'll start putting these out like in Walgreens and other places that carry Wet n Wild, because I know not everywhere has a Rite. I know that Rite are kind of like, I don't know if Rite's been bought by CVS, but it's like slowly I feel like even the stores around me are closing. I feel like I have a hair on my face, so I'm sorry that I keep touching my face. It's driving me crazy. I always get cat hairs on my face from my cats. Okay, I think I got it. But yeah, it's just a gorgeous palette. And I know they don't have these online yet on Wet n Wild's website, but I'm sure they will at some point. So if it's on their website by now, I'll link it down below. But yeah, the colors are just such awesome fall colors. Like, they're so pigmented, just like all the other Wet n Wild eyeshadow palettes that I have. I actually really like the shimmers in here. They're really good quality, because I know in some of their other palettes sometimes the shimmers can be kind of hit or miss, but the mattes are awesome in here. So if you can get your hands on this eyeshadow palette, highly recommend it, because even though like there are some pops of like orange in there, like pops of color, but you can still create pretty like wearable looks with it. And I don't know if I have my tutorial up yet on this look, but if it's not up yet, it will be up sometime this week. So just keep an eye out if you are interested in this eyeshadow makeup look. I didn't get a chance to really use this much last year because I kind of got it, I think, in like winter moving into spring, but after using it a few times, I fell in love with this. This is the Morphe Fall Into Frost, if I can get it open. And these colors scream fall to me so much. I cannot wait to do some tutorials this year with this palette. This is more of like a neutral palette for the fall time, but you have some really beautiful cranberry and like burgundy colors, like maroon, some really pretty like warm matte shades and like neutral kind of shades. I feel like you could create so many beautiful looks with this palette. So this is definitely like in my top fall eyeshadow palettes. Another palette which I discovered last year and fell in love with it, the Rimmel Magnif'eyes Spice Edition eyeshadow palette. This is a dupe to the Urban Decay Naked Heat, but the quality of these eyeshadows are so amazing for it to be such an affordable palette. Like, they're so pigmented, so buttery, and I really like the different fall looks that I came up with last year with this palette, so I cannot wait to use this again. I just think it's a gorgeous palette. I know that maybe like some people are kind of over these shades, but this just makes me feel like re-inspired for fall. Whenever I see this palette like sitting up on my little shelf where I have all my eyeshadow palettes, because like these colors just scream fall to me. So love this. And along those lines, this is kind of the same tones as the Rimmel Spice palette, but this is the Milani Pure Passion. This one I find is slightly like a little bit more wearable. Sorry, I feel like I'm blinding you guys with the mirror. I find that the shades are a little bit more like wearable, more like everyday in this palette, and you also have some more like wearable, you know, shimmers. I mean, these are more red, a little bit more intense, but I found that this is a more toned down palette. Once again, the shadows are just super pigmented in this palette, and I really enjoyed this last fall, so I'm looking forward to using this again. So yeah, I just really love the quality of this palette. I think it's really good. So okay, I know that these next two palettes are very similar to each other, so you could get one or the other, but I like both equally. The Anastasia Soft Glam palette, like this is another one of those palettes that screams fall time. And the shimmers in this palette are absolutely stunning. Like, they're so pigmented, so buttery, like so glittery. Not necessarily glittery, but like shimmery. Like, they look so pretty on, you know, the eyelid. And then the mattes in this palette are so buttery, easy to blend out. I just love all the fun, like warmer eyeshadow looks you can come up with this palette. And like, once again, even though this is like a warmer palette, I still find it to be very wearable, like work appropriate. You know, you can make your looks more intense with this palette, and you know, it could be more of like a night out look, or you can really tone it down and make it wearable for every day. Kind of my counterpart palette, or I guess like duping palette to this, which is another favorite that I absolutely love, is the Wet n Wild My Glamour Squad palette. Now, the shimmers in this palette are not as pigmented and not as like shimmery as the Soft Glam palette. So I do kind of prefer the shimmers in the Soft Glam palette to the Wet n Wild Matte Glamour Squad, but the matte shades in this are definitely very comparable to Soft Glam. And I know that the Soft Glam palette has a few extra shades than this Wet n Wild palette, because this comes with 12 and this is 10. So I think like Dusty Rose and Orange Soda, like those two shades that are in this palette are not in the Wet n Wild palette. But if you're looking for an affordable dupe to the ANASTASIA, I always want to call it Anastasia, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. Yeah, you can pick up the Wet n Wild palette. So I love both of these for fall. And I mean, I kind of use these palettes year round as well, but they're definitely very fall appropriate eyeshadows. Okay, another Morphe palette that I got last year, and this is another palette that I think is a really fun palette to use in the fall, is this Boss Mood palette. And this is more of a colorful fall palette because you have like the greens and these orangey red shades and the purples. So I definitely want to do some more looks with this year for fall. But yeah, if you are more into colorful eyeshadows, I think this is a great palette for, you know, this time of the year. And you can also create some more wearable looks with like the bronzy shades here, because I definitely did some bronzy. I don't think I filmed them last year, but like I remember using this palette and wearing it to work. I mean, I even wore like the purple shadows to work. I'm like the type of person that I'll wear whatever color eyeshadow to work and I don't care, as long as I like the way the makeup look turned out. But yeah, I think this palette is beautiful. I mean, the shadows are so pigmented. I love the shimmers in this. I just think they're so pretty and unique. So yeah, that's definitely another favorite. This next palette, I haven't really used this a lot like over the last like year or two, but I know I'm more drawn to this palette in the fall months, and I want to use this palette a little more this year. This is the Lorac Pro, just the original palette that they first came out with, and this is more of like a cool toned fall like neutral palette. So maybe if you're not really into the really warm like reds and oranges for fall, this might be a little bit more up your alley. I mean, garnet and this deep purple are really pretty for like fall makeup looks, and so is this gold. And then like I said, the shades in this palette are more like neutral cool toned. So I think that's why I don't reach for this quite as much, just because I'm more into warm eyeshadows. But I do really like the looks that I have come up with using this palette, and I definitely think it's a beautiful, more fall neutral eyeshadow palette. And this is another one of those that's good year round, but like I said, I'm more drawn to this time of the year, and I think like it's because of these shades down here. So, and then the last eyeshadow palette was a palette that I got last year, and this is the Urban Decay Naked Cherry palette. And I think that this is a great option for like people that want something that, I know that this doesn't look like a wearable palette because you have like these reds down here, but like the shades up in here are more wearable, and you can definitely create some looks that are more everyday. But I just love this. I love the red tones in here. I know that the Rimmel Crimson palette is kind of similar to this, but I personally prefer the Cherry palette over the Crimson. I mean, I still use this and I do like it, but if I had to pick, like, if I had to declutter one, I would declutter this and keep this one, just because I think that this one has a lot more like kind of wearable tones in it. I mean, I know that this one has some browns, but I feel like it has like lighter wearable shades, and I just find that the shadows are more pigmented, easier to work with in the Cherry palette. But yeah, this is another one that I like to reach for during the fall months. So, and of course I have other palettes that I love to use this time of the year, but these were just my absolute favorites, the ones that I reach for the most. I asked you guys on my Instagram stories what videos you would like to see, and one of you guys suggested that I do this video, and then a lot of you all voted to see this video. So I hope that you guys did enjoy this today. If you did, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you are new, don't forget to subscribe. Also, click the bell to turn on your notifications so you will know as soon as I post a new video. But I hope that you guys have a great day today. Let me know down in the comments like what your favorite fall eyeshadow palettes are. Maybe there's something new that I need to get. So yeah, I will see you all in the next one, and I hope that you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.